My name is Micaiah. Welcome to Hamlet Development Log. We're making a game for Steam called Hamlet. Let's get into it. So it's kind of our little precursor. We like to talk about that. We're still in development, not promised. It's coming soon. Uh, there's going to be a lot of bugs ahead, especially as we go into the version. It's version 4, I believe, or of the Haven game engine. Um, and then some content may not come out. We recently cut the castle, so we'll be talking a little bit about that, hopefully. So we have a game demo first, which I don't think I booted up. So, anyways, game just pretty much is really different, I think, from the last thing. We kind of updated a lot of graphics, added a lot of different things in here. You can actually hit P now to customize your characters. And now that I can, I'm always like, let's get the lawn here, dude. Anyways, that will be able to change. We can talk to Micaiah here. This is kind of the original TG and B, I believe, are the commands here. Anyways, so we can talk to him. You're supposed to actually be able to, oh, maybe. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to say how, yeah, it's supposed to be like that, and then you close it, and then it should be able to, yeah. Oh, I think if you actually, if you actually close it that way, and then do this, it doesn't actually, yeah, it doesn't actually close it correctly. But anyway, so there's, you can move around. This is kind of the new movement system that we're sort of, it's kind of the original movement, but in a sort of a very different way. We have these. We brought these grass things back. We really like them. They're not performant on a lot of computers. Hopefully, we'll be able to fix that. We actually added the chest back. It's kind of a thing. You can open up the chest. You can actually get. You can also hit G, by the way, to close that. Once you open up the chest. Yeah, this is the crate. Originally, you can actually store rocks in there, I believe. I don't think that's quite working yet. You can see the items on the ground are still here from the original. You can't pick up the packs, but they'll be a lot better as soon as we fix that. That's kind of weird. Yeah. I guess I'd really like to lower that height of that lamp. Anyways, it's a new lamp. Let's see if we can get a better view of it here. Yeah, so I think I would like to lower this lamp by like, hear me, 0.5. Come on. 0.75? Yeah, it might be 0.75. Yeah, 0.5 is probably going to be what's have to. Anyways, we'll mess with some of that as we go on. Yeah, there we go. A little bit better. So hopefully it's kind of a new lamp. Yeah. Anyways, you also have the wood pile. I believe, yeah, you can just walk right over it. We'll get a lot of that. It's actually physics enabled right now. Oh, yep. Which kind of creates some problems. We're kind of playing with that again. It really is awesome in terms of what it's doing, but then it really gets you sort of reoriented here. Really gets you off kilter, and especially in moving in a tile-based movement system. Anyways, let's see the other thing. Wouldn't be a video if I didn't cough. The other thing we talked about, we brought the cart back. We've improved the graphics of the cart with the new little thing. I like the fact that it kind of runs up with you. It's kind of following you. You also have animals. You can pet rabbits. I wouldn't piss off the rabbits because they look quite big for a rabbit. Anyways, we also have an amazing combat in this game. I don't think it was working last time. So, yeah. Anyways, there should be a pop-up. I'm not sure why there's not a pop-up. Sorry. Let's see. There should be a pop-up. I think it's part of the yeah, slimes here. Yeah, so you should be having a pop-up for some reason. It might be because, yeah, I believe it's because the UI is now taking ownership of that, and, yeah, way down here. Anyways, I should probably figure that out on my own, but, shouldn't be part of the screen. Yeah. anyways, there's a whole UI component that should be taking over that now. Anyway, so that's we don't have a axe equipped, so it's kind of the animations are pretty they're okay. They have a lot of new animation stuff. A lot of it's not hooked up. We got our trees back. We really like these trees. They're a little bit big for us, but kind of feel like a tree should be pretty massive. I don't think you can interact with the rocks as well. Yeah, you can just walk over. This does prevent, the cart does prevent a little problems about, because it's not actually pathfinding to you. You can pretty much, run it into a lot of weird things. But that's okay. Oh, and you can actually back up. Anyways, let me see if I can find the next thing I wanted to show off. So we have the basically I have characters. We'll be talking about this in just a minute. Include NPCs. Let's see if I can find my little. I need to. Let's see. Yes. Where are we at? I need a map in this. Okay, so if I head opposite of that lamp. Yeah. So we do need definitely a lot of cool things. So anyways, this is the new dungeons. These are from Sharp Extents sort of dungeons. They're pretty cool, but you can fall into them. These white balls kind of represent the fact that they're rooms, and then the white tiles are kind of the room size. A lot of that's hopefully going to be adding. One of the major improvements is trying to add in monsters and loot. We'll talk a lot about that pretty soon. Anyways, let me restart the game. It's definitely, well, when we could have actually, we should test it out with our horrible, you can actually go back into the menu now. Anyways, you can, a lot of it seems like it's off-scaled, and then, yeah, so you should be able to go back. Yeah, cool. Anyways, you can restart that way as well. But yeah, so the trees come in. The other thing I'm going to talk about on the bottom here, we just have this really temporary hotbar. This is kind of originally, a lot of, old UI, and then also we're playing with a lot of these hotkeys. You can see the character. There's the backpack actually right there that he actually equips a backpack. So that's what it's going to look like when you pick up the backpack, and then you can. It's actually pretty cool because then you can, I believe, you can start storing things. Yes, it's just, oh, there we go. So we got rocks. I believe, depending on what item you have, it's not as the cart can also start filling up with barrels as well. So it's going to indicate, you can just walk over the cart. That's probably going to be okay for now. You're going to be able to walk through a lot of items just because it's going to be. And then the cart. We took away the inventory as well, so that's another thing. We have it sort of there. We just need to. It's probably one of the last things we're gonna think about. But anyway, and then equipping the axe, and then getting actually into combat. These mobs only take about 2 hits with an axe. They have about 4 health. So anyway, so a lot of that's just very temporary right now. It's we're still we want to bring back a few things. It's pretty cool. It still says the 18.2. I guess we'll be talking about that right now. So, and the other thing about the customization of the characters, though, here we'll showcase that real quick again. I'm not a big fan of customization. There's a couple things I want to do. Yeah, and if you ask for some reason. Anyways, there's a couple things I want to do. You'll be able to customize your character at some point, but it's just not something I'm really like. I don't want to, load, because it would be like an extra scene. I sort of have a really temporary one that I could use from the character pack, but it just doesn't seem like it's that good, and it's not really being saved as well. So there's a lot of, and I'm just there's also another sort of I want to work on a sort of secondary system to that, where you sort of come into the world and you get to choose. You don't get to choose your sort of parents. I definitely think that you should, like, if you want to go get a haircut or something, that seems like reasonable in games like this, because but so that will be customizable, and then you'll be able to wear hats, and bunny slippers I believe are back over here, which I thought about making the bunny slippers a buff item, that, because right now this movement seems really slow. It's sort of it's actually not doing his walk animation. Yeah, he was walking a little bit better. I think it's part of the because I'm not telling the animation system what he's actually doing. So, but anyway, the point being is the fact that yeah, you'll be able to customize your character, and and then there's actually the pickaxe is a little bit different now. It's got a really cool axe. Is probably the original axe from the original 3 free characters, but now we picked up the character pack and then picked up the art pack as well, which was showcasing. Anyway, so moving on. Let's see. So yeah, we got to clean this whole PowerPoint presentation up. So let's see. We talked about Discord. Probably will post a link to the Haven Studios Discord. We started opening it up to a couple buddies of mine. They're in there. Usually, we actually just posted a. Let's see if I can just bring it up right here. No, that's Sharps. Under the promos, we actually kind of said, hi-ho. So it's off to work we go. So, yeah, so there's the original combat text we're missing right here. And then, which I moved it over from that one to the one that's on the right side. It's the plan. Anyway, so, there'll be some things. We've got some just various links to Sharp extents. Quill, I think, is in here as well. Like he was streaming all weekend, so if you want to check out his Ludum Dare stream, you can check that out. I also talked about some. We haven't really posted a lot of updates, but we post a lot of. There's some stuff down here that I just sort of links and stuff I want to. The original. Let's see, isn't there a? We also post some code stuff in here as well. So. And then we have some Unity tips. So this one's actually kind of a 2D array to a single array. So it's x plus y times the width is sort of how you get figure out the that's the width of the map, I believe. Anyways, that's there's stuff I've talked about that. We actually have the. Let's see. Do I have the original? Yeah, here we go. English teacher plays. Yeah. So we have him sort of immortalized in our Discord. I hope to come back to that one day and sort of, I check it out every once in a while, just kind of get some feedback and sort of, I definitely am changing the game pretty much. Anyway, so let's talk about Steam a little bit. This is a full Steam game. It's $9.99. There's a free demo. It's pretty outdated, but we do need to update the demo. Once we get everything sort of more stabled, what we're working on, we'll probably update the demo to reflect our current gameplay with the roguelike. Anyway, so we're on the version 10. This is actually it's 18.2, but we've upgraded this a lot. So we kind of just said, hey, we're on the 19 version right now. Just kind of, you can see we've pushed out 9 updates pretty much, and we haven't even really updated Steam. That's definitely something we need to work on. But we've kind of been changing a lot of things, and we're still talking about this alpha branch. The alpha branch would include like inventory and stuff. We do have a secondary inventory state, and we're actually working on a new one. So I think that's sort of the problem, where it's like I'm working on a new inventory system that hopefully will replace the old inventory system, and I don't want to, have to rewrite everything again. Showcase. That's one of the most difficult things for me is like showcasing stuff I'm working on, but then also realizing that it's going to completely change in a couple days, a couple weeks, or whenever it finishes. Anyways, Steam's going pretty good. The wish lists are going up pretty awesome. I really appreciate that. I think I really need to get the game out. I'm hoping like the next couple months I can really solidify the game and make it actually a game. Even though we planned, I should announce this now. We are planning on taking the month of December off. Not only to drink coffee, but we have a lot of personal work plans to get to, spiritual work plans. So we want to take the month off and reflect on our year. And hopefully, the plan is to get this game into a really good state at that point. So let's talk about that. Well, I guess let's. We are pretty much on monthly updates. I guess we'll be talking about that status update and what the plans are in a couple in the topics. Anyways, we are doing monthly updates. I actually thought about, just because there's so much work going on right now, I might start putting out weekly updates, but I also need to get out, there's about 3 videos I've been talking about for the item system, which is actually pretty out of date now. Well, I mean, it's kind of where we're going. It's probably why I wanted to talk about it. So it was good for me because I sort of learned how to do item JSON. I call them JSON, but just C# classes of items instead of scriptable objects. Which I still love scriptable objects for everything, but we'll have to see. But we're kind of playing with this new. It's called the serialized reference, which actually it doesn't really do much except it serializes interfaces. So that's really awesome. So, anyways, we'll maybe be talking about that in do an item series. That's kind of like with Dapper Dino. We've been following his RPG series, and see some RPG combat, and we've actually got some new damage types that he's talking about next. So we have these new damage types we've been thinking about, and so we'll be learning from him and showcasing what we're doing. It's kind of like a lot of this is self-taught, but then it's also putting together a lot of, you can see rogue Sharp Accents roguelite, sort of the dungeon generation there through the Delaney, and then you can see the Rogue House sort of item inventory and movement system. I like his messaging system. Anyways, so we'll be posting more videos. Hopefully, it's tough. I really want to pick up a mic package and sort of like a preamp and sort of upgrade my YouTube, and then I've also been playing a lot of Undermine, so I thought about doing some Undermine runs on YouTube. So this is kind of my YouTube status page. Anyway, so it's kind of what's happening with YouTube. So let's. We talked about Steam. We talked about some of the announcements, some of the YouTube topics. So we basically broke the game down into 3 sort of ideas for the game. We knew we were talking about before that we had a micro environment and a macro environment, which is still kind of where we're going with this a little bit. Where you in the micro environment is like based on the character, what the character is doing, what they're interacting with, what's happening. We want to improve that system, but then also improve the macro, which is kind of this huge world topic. So then we kind of broke that down into this character idea, and then we talked about this overworld and then the dungeon. And this is kind of going more towards the roguelike for those next 2 topics. So where you kind of create a character, you'll have a character in the world. You'll probably be able to customize the character. You'll level up the character, spend stats. Maybe there's a lot of RPG elements that we want to get into there. Some are like not as exciting. Others are interesting. And also, like for instance, food. We have some topics, sort of ideas, I guess, to do away with food kind of quickly, and torches as well. It's kind of another one of those commonly used items. Basically, we want to be able to have the character sort of live and die in a roguelike, and then sort of help out his family, and then and then he'll die in the dungeon or whatever, and then his family will be able to reclaim some of his resources to send in, or the town or something. Might be a better sort of larger topic there, but anyways, that will be all part of the overworld. Where you can actually be able to, if you don't want to brave the dungeon and die, you can actually chop down trees and collect rocks and help the town expand and build. It's going to be very limited. We thought about a 9x9 chunk, basically, of the overworld. We're going to simulate, so it's like it's going to be limited. Eventually, what you have to do, what you can do, we'll have to see what that looks like. And then the dungeons are going to be preset right now, but then we also want to add in a randomized dungeon where like you can go check out dungeon. You can like generate a dungeon and then go defeat that dungeon or go play through that dungeon, which is basically like the underground. Could also be considered. Anyway, so we talked about this microenvironment. It's kind of what it looks like. It's still kind of what it looks like now. We've got rocks and logs that you can collect. We've got tools. I believe we actually have a ton more, like a shovel, a saw, a hammer. We have tons more tools we can play with now with the character pack. We also have the equipment. We have a ton more equipment. We actually kind of picked up a different pack that added like armor and items in it, and it wasn't very usable, so we actually might pick up another fuller animated pack. It's all from the same Honeta, but it's unfortunately they're $15 fantasy heroes, as their items are hard-coded into the anyways, they're animated. We're hoping that's not, and that's the case with the 30k animated characters we just picked up. Anyways, you're not going to see that we have the crate, the barrel, the wood pile, still my own special design. So those are actually really cool. We need to get that back up and running. You can see the carts, backs, and pouches. They're all sort of inventories, and they also have weight systems, which hopefully won't be too annoying. I think it will be pretty generous with that. And one idea too is like, it's not just like you're managing the inventory. If you have a cart and a backpack with you, and maybe a helper, that's like you have 50 weight to distribute, and the game sort of distributes it all for you. And it's sort of like you have this central, and especially too if you work near your house, that actually might. We're talking about having your house be another, like, have 200 weight system, so you can just sort of store all this, carry tons of items that will all store in your house, and then when you go out into the world and spend it, you can sort of, you might have to bring some with you to go to a merchant or something, but the local merchant might be able to just pull your inventory from your house and sell it directly to them. Anyways, we talked about trees and rocks. We also have this new, it's actually based on several different systems, but it's kind of started with they call it the critter system. That's kind of why they used to be called wolves, now they're called slimes. But then we also, someone else, I can't remember his name. Sorry, dude. I've showed, he has an achievement system, the forest system that he worked on, and he's working on some other. So that's all included in that system. It's kind of a right now that we're kind of fighting between this system versus the chunk, which is part of the overworld. There's chunk management now in the overworld, which I think is much nicer, because it's like, for the town, we give a town a chunk, which is like 16 by 16 tiles, and then that's, I think it's like 8 plots or something like that of land that you can build on. This is kind of like an idea of a mini chunk that was 9 by 9. I think we've doubled that to 16 by 16. We're going to do some chunk system at some point. Anyway, so that's kind of the idea there. And so they'll whether or not we include we included the trees, talking about including the rocks. And the systems are nice because they, I like the fact that it would be nice if it was just like a forest manager, a forest system, and then all the trees registered with the forest system, and then when you cut down a tree, it would be like, hey, you only have so many trees left. Maybe the NPC should go out and plant some trees, or maybe you should, which is kind of what we're talking about anyway. So that's kind of the character in a nutshell, with a little bit of the overworld. But basically, having customization, items, inventory, management of all that, and levels and experience and stuff like that is kind of all based on the character, which will feel like an RPG. The overworld is kind of, this is the pack we picked up. We probably won't be going this extent. We talked a lot about it, but we might go a little bit different, where this is your town chunk, which will be a little bit smaller. We have included some of this in larger systems we're playing with, but I think one of the things I missed a 26 and shift F5. We missed we've kind of decided that the game's kind of getting overly ambitious. So for Hamlet 2.0, which we've been talking about for a long time, and 3.0, which is kind of the castle system. That's kind of one of the castle system we talked about cutting. We still will think about the military, the royalty, and the citizens. This is based on the town, and we still kind of want to include some towns, but we're also probably gonna limit our time as well, because mainly the thing is to just go into the dungeon. And we definitely want to make a really cool citizen town area. We like the laws, the houses as well, but a lot of it's hard to develop all this stuff without making an RTS game. And it's one of the other things they're sort of cutting, is that RTS elements, where you'll be able to do stuff with the things and buy houses and stuff like that, but you're not going to be able to manage them as much. And then maybe in Hamlet 2.0 we'll add in the ability to manage and and that, I'm not talking like a Hamlet 2.0 as in, Hamlet 2, although it's kind of, we'll have to think about that next year. But we probably will include some DLCs or just free content or something like that. And the idea is to kind of build a Hamlet into a game that's actually really playable and enjoyable. for a pretty low price, but then also include build everything up, all the code and the engine and everything to be able to support larger. And I totally don't mind developing all this content. I'm pretty much doing it anyways and just putting it out there at some point, even for free with just updates and stuff like that. It's kind of like, but the idea is that we want to get to Hamlet 1.0, and so we're going to scale back quite a bit. We'll upgrade some shots. Like this is a pretty good shot of what we want Hamlet 1.0 to look like, but a little bit more interactive with more buildings. And then also we talked about the dungeons. So so let's see. At some point, military, like we'll have guards around. Sometimes we talked a little bit about that in the dungeon as well. And there'll be a lot of citizens around, merchants and stuff like that. It's basically a roguelike of where the town is kind of where the top level, the overworld, and then you can buy and equip and sort of upgrade your gear in the town and then go into the dungeon. This is kind of what the dungeon looks like right now. Let's see if I can make sense of this. Some of this grass is sort of, grass doesn't fall, so it's sort of based on this 0th level. No, here's another one. No, yeah. Anyway, so the dungeon, it's basically just kind of brings out this rooms. Rooms, hallways, stuff like that, and then we need to, like, this room wasn't actually, so these white balls kind of represent, they're just a spear, represent room targets. So we're going through, we're trying to figure out the, where the rooms are, and then how big the room is. A lot of it's pretty tricky and some of the code, so we might have to redo this. This is really quick and fast, and creates these really interesting dungeon, I think. But we need to start adding up and downstairs and stuff like that, and then building these levels of dungeons so you can actually go down and not just go to one dungeon floor. And then too, we also kind of want to make dungeons a little bit more. It's going to be a slight different in our game. Dungeons are going to be pretty brutal. That's the hope. For the first few levels, because we kind of want to have death be one of those things where it's the roguelike. But you're upgrading your family, your town or whatever is being increased as you go. So I don't want to feel like I was playing a Nortia or something like that, and it was like every I died 20 times, but I made 0 progress in the game. So it was kind of like, that's not fun. Anyways, so we need to work on rooms. Hallways are just kind of connectors. We might limit monsters to the rooms and stuff like that, but we definitely want monsters. We have bats, ghosts, and more slimes and different slime types as you go down. Levels of monsters. Then we got death. Guards are kind of a kind of a secret topic we're talking about, but it's sort of this idea. I guess it's not really secret if I talk about it, but it's kind of this idea that when you clear sections of the dungeon, you can start assigning guards to sort of keep it clear for you, because the dungeon will try to keep reclaiming itself, which is kind of the idea of making it difficult. You'll still get the same rewards, the experience, and then eventually you just be able to, mow through some of the first levels. That's part of the problem with RPGs is like, you do 2 damage, and it takes 2 hits to kill a mob, but then you got, a 20 damage weapon. It's just like you just obliterate things and take no damage. But anyway, so that's kind of adding in the roguelike upgrading. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, so, and then the original design, I want to include this probably forever, because it just really gives me that core concept of what Hamlet was like in the first place, and what it should get back to. And it was really feeling like that, where you could go up and pick up the axe and stuff like that, and then access the barrel. I guess the barrels are kind of food items, maybe would be a great way to store. Anyways, and then we talked about the graphics, so we've included I don't know if you can see any lamps are right in here, the wells, boxes, houses and stuff are not as useful as I'd like to think they are. Jamin's houses are a little bit more usable because the doors open. And stuff like that. We actually thought of a pretty interesting technique that we might try with windows and doors for these singular meshes. that might solve a lot of problems, but we have to put some time into that. So, anyways, that's kind of eventually the end goal of Hamlet here, is to get the town, castle, and a dungeon, and sort of increase the playability, and then also having NPCs and blacksmiths and foresters and guards and invasions and all sorts of crazy things. Anyway, so that's pretty much it. Definitely leave some comment, support. Talked about the Discord. I probably will include, hopefully I'll include the link. Part of the Discord problem for me, number one problem, is the fact if I get so distracted by talking to people and it's just like, I need to. It's just so much work, and I already have a couple of friends I talk to just to kind of talk to. But then, it's like, hopefully one of them is a pretty good coder buddy. So hopefully, it's fun to talk to someone who knows how to code and talks about, I've been talking about the serialized reference. Anyway, so then, so I'm hoping to kind of put out some more updates. I know it's been kind of slow. I might go back to not weekly updates, but I want to put out some more videos talking about some cool things. I really miss them because that's kind of why I enjoyed the item systems, because it really talks about what I'm working on, and I sort of talks through and shares like, oh, hey, I'm working on this item system. This is what I like about it. This is what I don't like about it. And then it's like I sort of do a sort of a digest of the work, and then I can go back and say, oh, that's like, even if I never put those item videos out, which I may or may not, they're just done. I just gotta edit them, just not even edit them, just to sort of come up with some comments and upload them. Because that's usually what I try to do. Anyways, so it's probably 30 minutes already. So let's. The coolest thing too is about this pause. Well, I'm going to try it now. So pause. Yeah. So that's really cool. That's a nice huge upgrade for OBS here. Anyway, so we're about 30 minutes. That's pretty good. I probably should have talked for an hour. I guess we actually talked about some. We're talking about doing some code here. Yeah, I think we're good. We'll talk about code maybe next time. 30 minutes is good. Anyways, definitely leave some comments. Someone was talking about asking some questions, so thankfully I wrote a pretty long reply. As unfortunately, if you make a comment, I'll leave a huge reply. But yeah, so it might be fun to get to some of his ideas about how do I support code and stuff like that. So I definitely want to do more. It's kind of with the gaming channel. It's like it's fun to play games, but then it's like I want to do more with the program. It's like with Quill, he's got a gaming channel. That's all he does all day, and it's like I'd rather have him work on his programming channel because that helped me. But I don't want to be in the same position where I have this really big, huge gaming channel and I can't program. So it's like I'd rather build a programming channel, but I don't want to I'm not sure exactly where to go with that. So, the ideal would be like Code Monkey, where it's like I have a few games on Steam, I read some videos every once in a while, talk about my code, kind of share what I've been working on with people. And I think that's the creative aspects is, you want to share what you're working on. So anyways, thanks everybody. I'll talk to you hopefully next week. If nothing else, it will be, let's look at a calendar here. It will be on the 4th or the 11th. I'm sure 4th should be pretty good. I was going to put out a video on the 30th, but then I was doing this massive redesign. It took about 2 weeks to redesign and rethink about the entire project. So the next video should be on the 4th, if not, and then 4th or the 11th, because I'm kind of doing monthly videos. And then just to reiterate, from December, is this December? Yeah. Sorry, it's kind of hard to read this. From the 1st about the 31st, so I'll probably do some updates on the 6th, or maybe it's in here somewhere, for 2020. I'll just kind of take this entire month off. I've got a whole bunch of songs I want to work on, a whole bunch of updates to my my Bible apps and stuff like that I want to really focus on. So that's what I'm going to do. Hopefully, the plan is to get this game into a really good state, very playable at that point, with that sort of the core functionality of be able to pick up items, be able to interact with I'm not sure about quest and all that great stuff, but then be able to go into a dungeon, share some, get some gear, let's see if this is probably about the same. Stuff like that. So, oh, and then have, and then be able to chop down trees, sell the items, pick up rocks, stuff like that, and then eventually, this is not how you're going to enter the dungeon. It's kind of an idea about dungeons in the fact that you can actually hop across these if you're really quick. Oh, yeah. But it's kind of the idea of why I want to fall into the dungeon is because of the fact that you're the ability to fall down a trap or something like that will send you down to a deeper part of the dungeon. That's kind of the idea there. Anyway, so then you'll be able to go through the dungeons, go up and down some stairs, which is the plan. Probably even teleport in and out of the dungeon. Just add in a ton of cool stuff to explore, to fight, sort of, not just kind of walk through these rooms. It might be fun to bring a card down to the dungeon too. And that's just sort of it, is like sort of plan out. Yeah, there's a lot of clipping. Also need to get the cameras. Yeah, cameras are tricky. Anyways, but to get through the, yeah, it's pretty. The problem is like if you clip all that out, then you're seeing outside the dungeon, and then if you're clipping through this part, you're into the next room. So it's really, I don't know. Anyway, so to get all that accomplished, sort of upgrade. If I focus on those three core aspects, the character, the overworld, I think the overworld's pretty much done, except for the town aspects. And now that I've got the chunk system in, and plots, it might be quite easier just to say, it's kind of the same with the rune concept. So like, here's a plot, and you can put in a tavern in 2 plots, or you can put in a blacksmith and stuff like that, and then hopefully have some quick, easy way to manage all that, or just have the game manage it for you. Is probably the concept. But yeah, just going through dungeons. See, like here it's showing you what's inside because it's outside the clipping range of the inside of the camera. So that's definitely the. Anyways, I'm yapping forever, so that's usually my videos. So thanks very much. I appreciate everybody. I will talk to everybody next time, and we'll see you. Gonna put the items out there, and then hopefully do another video next week or in a couple weeks. You take care.